record. Okay, so hydrocarbons are organic compounds that consist of only uh, carbon and hydrogen atoms. So you have prefixes here. You have the length of the carbon chain. So you have these prefixes which define the length. So if it's only one carbon, you call that meth. So methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane. So that's one type of hydrocarbon. So remember those prefixes. We will encounter that all the time in organic and biochemistry. Okay, so you have alkenes. So alkanes are the simplest members of the hydrocarbon family. They're always saturated. Okay, saturated meaning single bonds only. And they contain only hydrogen and carbon. So when you have an alkane, since you can have only single bonds, then the general formula of carbon of the is the number of hydrogen plus 2. So CnH2n plus 2. So twice as many hydrogen as carbon plus example. So for example, your compound is a saturated hydrocarbon contains 5 carbons. What is the formula? So these are the type of questions that may be asked in the exam. So just plug in the 5 carbons, so carbon 5, and then you have twice the number of hydrogen plus 2. So that's 2 times 5, 10 plus 2. So that's C5H12. So it makes sense, di ba? Because take note that for alkanes, for each carbon, you have 2 hydrogens plus 2. So you have 2 hydrogens at the edge. So this is an example of methane. So you have 2 hydrogens plus 2 because you have hydrogens on either end. Same with ethane. Ethane has 2 hydrocarbons for each, 2 hydrogens for each carbon plus 2. So that's C2. C2H, C2H6. This one is CH4. So if your hydrocarbon is 20 carbons, what is the formula? So it will be C20. So twice the number of hydrogens, you'll have 40 plus 2. Okay, did you get that? Okay, let me ask. What is the formula for an alkane which has 8 carbons?
Sir, ano po? C8H18 po.
Oh, plus 2. Okay, so C8H18. How about a carbon which has 4? How about for an alkene that has 4 carbons?
C4H10 po.
Okay, so very easy, di ba? So just twice the number of hydrogens plus 2. Okay, did everyone get that? So for methane, you have yung mga simplest natin, methane, you have 1 carbon. 2 carbons, you have ethane, you call it an ethane. Yung methane kasi ano yan eh. So when it's an anaerobic decomposition of substances, biological substances, magpo-produce ka ng methane, no? So yan yung joke na pag umutot kayo, something burns. So that's the combustible gas. So the methane. And then you have 2 carbons as ethane. C3H8, propane. So most of the cooking gas is actually, most of it's propane. Liquid propane. Yung lighter fluid, that's butane. Okay? butane yan, C4H10. Tapos pag 5 naman, pentane. So you can guess naman yung the rest of the alkanes based sa prefix. So tandaan nyo na lang yung mga polygons. So you have pentane, hexane, heptane, octane, nonane, decane. Okay? So ang general formula mo again is CnH2n plus 2. So pag nonane, ang compound mo, anong formula ng nonane? Iba naman. Pag nonane, ano ibig sabihin niya? 9. Yes.
C9H14 po.
C9H, twice the number of hydrogens plus 2. So C9,
C9H20 po.
so C9H20. Okay, so yan yung alkane. Okay, so take note dito sa mga alkanes mo, dahil may mga single bonds ka lang dyan, no? Tetrahedral arrangement ng mga hydrogens surrounding it. So pag tetrahedral, it means it's like the corners of the pyramid. Yung mga hydrogens dyan, they occupy the corners of the pyramid. So from the simplest alkane, so going to a corner of a pyramid para mamaksod. Okay? So dito malapit. Pero pag binigyan natin ng 3D space yan, mag-occupy siya ng corners of the pyramid, magiging 109.5. So same thing with the ethane, kahit humaba pa yan, all the angles will be 109.5 or tetrahedral. Pagdating mo sa alkenes, take note, no, yung angle niya, hindi na yan corners of a pyramid. So para siyang 1/3 of a circle, okay? So that's 120. 120 na yung angle niya pag meron ka ng double bond, okay? So take note of that when we discuss structures. But once na may double bond ka between carbons or oxygen, it will change the angle of the bonds. So alkenes are a series of unsaturated hydrocarbons having one double bond. Ngayon, dahil nagkaroon ka ng bond between carbons, mawawala yung extra 2 hydrogens. So yung general formula mo, basta doble lang ng hydrogen. So CnH2n. So twice the number of carbons yung hydrogen. So meron kang ethene, meron kang propene, butene, pentene, ganun din. Okay? So to find the number of hydrogens, double the number of carbons. Okay. So pag meron kang heptene, iba naman, ano yung formula ng heptene?
C7H14 po.
Okay, C7H14. That's correct. Okay, so madali lang ang alkenes. Nabawasan ka ng 2 hydrogen sa either side. Pero take note, dito may ano naman to, may complication tong alkene kasi pwede ka magkaroon ng double bond anywhere. So that means it will be a different molecule. Okay? So ang tawag dyan ay magkakaroon ka ng isomer. So this is a special type of isomer which we call structural isomer. So they may have the same molecular formula, but they have different structural formula. So this is in particular is a structural isomer. Okay? So meron pa tayong isomer na may encounter sa organic chemistry, pero we will define each one. But for alkenes, you will have a structural isomer, meaning yung double bond mo, pwedeng between the first carbon and the second carbon, or pwedeng between the second carbon and the third carbon. Kung yung third carbon and the fourth carbon, magiging parang pareho lang siya dun sa double bond between the first carbon and second carbon. So basically, they'll be just the same compound. So sometimes we label, when we go to organic chemistry, ito yung pinakamahirap sa organic chemistry, yung pag-label. Okay? So, buti pa yung organic chemistry may label. Dito naman, yung butene mo, nasan yung double bond between carbon 1 and carbon 2? So, lagyan mo 1 butene. Kung between carbon 2 and carbon 3, that's 2 butene. But we won't go into that, no? We don't have time to discuss that. But yun lang yung difference nung dalawang structures. Okay? Ito naman, pentene. So, pwede kang the carbon bonds between the sa second and third. Ngayon, 2 pentene pa rin siya kalabasan between the second and third carbon. So, halos pareho lang siya. Mirror image lang siya, basically. So, this is a structural, the structural isomer of pentene is 1 pentene and 2 pentene. Okay, so take note of that. So, may position yung mga double bonds. And it will affect the structure of the compound. As I've said, di ba, pag may double 109.5 sa 3-dimensional space, magiging 120 na lang. And the last one, last hydrocarbon is called the alkynes. Okay, so this is a series of unsaturated hydrocarbon that has a triple bond. So straight na siya.